Subhash, particularly in the Christian tradition, there are different alternatives of what God is. Some have God more abstract, some have God more personal, some even try to engage a Christian philosophy with a pantheistic view. In the Hindu traditions, we normally think of multiple gods. But in the Hindu traditions, what are the discussions about the nature of God? Are there different schools of thought that think God is one way or another way?
The general view in the Hindu traditions is that you can approach God two different ways. One is what is called sagun, with qualities. The other is nirgun, or without qualities at all. So you can imbue God with different sets of qualities. You can view God in terms of moral law, or in terms of freedom, or in terms of devotion. Or you could say, if that is possible for one to do, you can say that God is beyond all categories, in which case it's without form. So the moment you set up the possibility of a without form conception, which is ultimately the most abstract, which is where one goes after a lot of sadhana, after a lot of practice. But before coming to that formless conception, it's much easier to hold on to a form to which one is attracted either because of what is what one is used to, or what one's family has done, or somebody might say, well, I want to see the baby Krishna, the image of the baby Krishna. I love it, for a mother, for example, or somebody else. If that is what one likes, that's great. But eventually the objective is, okay, you go this, you sharpen your consciousness, because after all, it's all a journey of firstly understanding oneself, understanding how one perceives oneself and relates to one's own environment. And then having done that through yoga of one kind or the other, reach a point where all these forms are unnecessary. And therefore, perhaps there is a convergence then. Because in the Judeo-Christian tradition also, forms were frowned upon. So here, a formless vision, formless, qualityless vision of divinity is at the end of a journey. And therefore, the Hindu view is a view where there is a place for everybody. You want to worship the goddess? Great. You want to worship Shiva? Fine. Or Vishnu. So there are complementary views. You don't have to fight with each other. But eventually, sooner or later, you'll realize in your intuition, where language doesn't come in, that what you really are seeing is the same foundation of it all.
So are these diverse Hindu gods then each a representation of different qualities of the same God? Is that, or the same supreme being?
Absolutely. All these different forms are different projections or representations in qualities, in terms of qualities, of one supreme being who's beyond all qualities, who's beyond time and space.
So is that God synonymous with the God of other religions, so that Hinduism does not take an exclusive view that only it is correct?
Hinduism does not take an exclusive view. Hinduism would say that, well, it's possible that within different sects of Hinduism, people might dispute each other's position.
I would hope so.
But that disputation is helpful in one's own self-understanding, and therefore that disputation is very useful. And likewise, the way how God is visualized in other religious traditions might be somewhat different, but I think that would be helpful in understanding each other's position. And
in Hinduism per se, what are the differences of opinion? What are the different schools of thought that oppose each other, that get angry with each other because they think the other doesn't understand? It can't be all unified. If they're all unified, they're not human.
Well, there are different sects and there are different schools, but generally in each one of these sects, it's understood that the ultimate reality is beyond words, and therefore these are only steps to a deeper understanding. And therefore, why you are doing something is not because of an absolute meaning attached to it, but as a system of discipline. Now, you might say, for example, okay, I don't want to eat such and such things on Tuesdays, but that doesn't mean that there's something magical associated with that. But just because there is a certain vow you have taken, or there is a certain path that you have taken. It's like you're climbing a mountain and you could go up one way or the other way, and they'll all take you to the top of the mountain, and no one way is superior to the other. So I think what's important here is, what is your personality and your background and your attitudes most suited to for your own personal way to truth?
But you are getting to an ultimate truth, and it's the same truth for everyone. It's not a relativistic, artificial making us feel good, but it's the same ultimate truth that you seek to get to.
There is a Vedic statement which says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, which says there is one truth and the wise call it by different names. So indeed, there is a single ultimate goal, and people from different religions, from different groups, or people who are irreligious, they have their own discipline. They are trying to determine who they are in their own different ways, and that's perfectly fine, so long as people are not killing each other, they're not letting obstacles be in the paths of others. That is fine, and that's the way it should be.